Good evening and welcome to BATV News. I'm Andrew Laidley. Prime Minister Andrew Holness met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem today. The two men discussed possibilities for cooperation in water, agriculture and domestic security. Anthony Morgan reports.
Prime Minister Holness, in extending thanks to the Israeli Prime Minister for the invitation to visit, says Jamaica, like Israel, is a strong democracy.
We have long admired the advances that Israel has made in technology, in particular cybersecurity, and in agriculture, and in other areas. And the potential for cooperation between our two countries is great, and Jamaica is very interested in exploring those areas of cooperation.
Mr. Holness says the government wants to pursue economic cooperation with Israel.
The Jamaican people and the Caribbean region is a zone of peace, and we wish peace for all the peoples of the world. And we do extend our sympathies to the people of Israel for the very unfortunate attack on your soldiers recently. We would want to also pursue with Israel economic cooperation. And I believe in building strong economies, we can build a peaceful world.
Meanwhile, host Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the visit of the Jamaican Prime Minister is of double significance for his country.
Our relations are always friendly. We appreciate the fact that you didn't join the recent vote against Israel, absurd vote in UNESCO. But quite beyond that, we're talking about extending our cooperation. We just did for just a brief few minutes that we spoke. I could see all the potential for our cooperation in a variety of fields that relate to economy, to security, to technology, and this is something that we eagerly are interested in doing with you.
The Israeli Prime Minister says he also intends to take up the offer by Prime Minister Holness to visit Jamaica soon. For BATV News, I'm Anthony Morgan.
JAMPRO's Film Commissioner Renee Robinson says the corporation is actively tackling the creative industry's problem of accessing financing. She was speaking this morning at JAMPRO's Creative Industries Open Day. Here's more.
Obviously, other people out there are making money, so we just need to be able to train our finance sector on how to invest in the creative economy.
That's the Film Commissioner's plan to get things going for the creative industry. But she pointed out that getting there will require bridging some gaps.
One of the things that is plaguing us as an industry is access to financing. Now, it's not because the money isn't there. The reason that we have an issue accessing financing is because there is a disconnect. We speak different languages. The people who speak creative do not speak finance and business, and the people who speak finance and business do not speak creative.
She says there's no lack of money to finance the creative industry. However, accessing funds relies heavily on sensitizing financial partners about the economic potential of the industry.
We simply need to be able to find ways of translating that language so that we can all speak the same language. It's not that the money doesn't exist. It's not that it's not here. It's here, but we just need to be able to sensitize our financiers on the impact of the creative economy and how to monetize those businesses. So that is one of the things that's very important to us. Last year, we had a sensitization seminar with some local financiers and international financiers. We brought down a film financier from LA, and we asked her to speak to local financiers about how does LA make money.
In the meantime, Ms. Robinson says opportunities are opening up for Jamaican film producers to travel and gain additional experience.
We have been invited to attend the Cartagena International Film Festival in March, and so that expression of interest is actually being prepared right now, so you can look out for that. In the next couple of days, you will look out for that, an invitation for people who want to join a JAMPRO delegation to the Cartagena International Film Festival, which is the oldest in the region. This year, they're actually focusing on the Caribbean, and so they have outreached to Jamaica and to Trinidad to send specific delegations that will be, essentially catered to.
For BATV News, I'm Andrew Laidley. Meanwhile, JAMPRO Board Director Zachary Harding announced today that the corporation is no longer under the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. More in this report. The mandate is the same, but the oversight body is different. The JAMPRO director explained that the corporation is now under the guidance of a new ministry.
JAMPRO now falls under the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. It's a little bit of a switch. It used to be under Investment and Commerce before. So our direct portfolio minister is Daryl Vaz, and obviously our full portfolio minister is the Prime Minister himself. So we have a direct route to the PM.
Mr. Harding says he made a presentation to the new ministry, outlining some of the things the creative industry requires to thrive.
We presented the entire strategic plan for JAMPRO for the next 5 years. It was accepted. We had a whole section there that spoke to creative industries. Generally speaking, it was all accepted. We're pushing mainly to try and get this film fund set up as well as get the incentive structure in place. Historically, there were incentives and then they were all taken away under one big omnibus system, and the IMF just said no incentives for anybody because every single industry had a whole different set of incentives.
He says the Prime Minister is on board with the plans and has signed off on major projects.
There are a lot of technical things. It's one thing to say, yes, put an incentive structure in place, but it goes through Ministry of Finance and there's a whole other set of complicated stuff. But just to give you some assurance from the Prime Minister's office that he is aware, supportive, engaged, and going to bat for the industry.
For BATV News, I'm Andrew Lately. The government says it's committed to opening new markets and removing unnecessary barriers to provide more opportunities for local companies to expand. Addressing the launch of the Jamaica International Exhibition Trade Show at the Montego Bay Convention Center yesterday, Minister of Industry and Commerce Carl Samuda argued that by making it easier for businesses to access the export market, the administration is signaling its intention to pursue all available avenues locally and internationally to meet its economic growth targets. Mr. Samuda added that the government is resolutely committed to being on the side of enterprise, entrepreneurs, large and small businesses, wealth creation, and hard-working Jamaicans across the country. And still to come, Revenue Protection Department clamps down on fraudulent motor vehicle documents. The details when we return. Welcome back. The Revenue Protection Department, RPD, says it is taking a zero-tolerance approach to the production of fraudulent motor vehicle documents, including fitness and registration certificates, titles, and driver's licenses. RPD Commissioner Major Johanna Lewin says the RPD has placed 29 matters related to the production of fraudulent documents before the court. She said the department has shut down several mobile tax offices where personnel have been manufacturing and selling documents. Ms. Lewin was addressing the launch of a pilot of the new Island Traffic Authority ITA vehicle management system yesterday at the Transport and Mining Ministry in Kingston. She says as part of the plan to clamp down on the illegal practice, her agency continues to review systems and make recommendations for improvement. Meanwhile, Ms. Lewin has lauded the ITA for creating the vehicle management system, which is designed to electronically capture all motor vehicle fitness and driver's license information. The new system will eliminate the need for paper as well as the production of fraudulent documents. This, the RDP expects, will lead to more compliant vehicles on the roads, increased cost savings, and reduced transportation errors, among other things. The pilot system will become fully operational on January 12 today at the Swallowfield Island Traffic Authority and will be rolled out on a phased basis to other locations. The new system will promote the integration of the Island Traffic Authority with Tax Administration Jamaica TAJ and the Jamaica Customs Agency. Information Minister Senator Ruel Reid says the government will be providing more funding to fight child abuse in light of the current alleged case between a 15-year-old minor and a minister of religion. He was speaking at yesterday's post-cabinet press briefing. Anthony Morgan has that report.
Senator Ruel Reid says the government will be increasing funds to expand the 1888 Protect service.
There is a 188 Protect, which is a facility set up to receive calls from children who are being abused. This service generally is operating for only 12 hours per day. The government has decided to provide funding to expand that service to ensure that it is available 24 hours.
He says there will also be an increase in the budget for the National Parenting Commission.
In regards to the importance now of supporting parents and parenting, so we can avoid as best as possible these recurrences, I'd like to announce a significant increase in the budget for the National Parenting Commission to make sure we do a very comprehensive work in terms of elevating the importance and effectiveness of parenting. So the budget will be increased by over $25.8 million for the next financial year.
Meanwhile, the minister says it was another smooth start for the new school term.
Many infrastructure works have now been completed, and others are very, very advanced for completion by the end of this financial year.
Senator Reid says money has also been allocated to high schools ahead of schedule.
We have successfully and in record time distributed to the high school system 3 tranches, from the early one in June, second was done in September, the third ahead of schedule in November. Over $3.4 billion, in fact, was sent to the high school system, in addition to other support that they have gotten for staffing, ICT, TVET, and other support.
For BATV News, I'm Anthony Morgan.
The government and the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts is establishing a Craft Development Institute, CDI, to be completed in September next year. While speaking at yesterday's post-cabinet press briefing, Minister of Tourism Ed Bartlett said work on the first Institute for Craft Development in Jamaica will start this year. A memorandum of understanding and contract are to be signed by the Edna Manley College and the Tourism Product Development Company, TPDCO, which will detail the relationship between the entities and define the governance and operations of the Institute. Minister Bartlett said the government will also undertake the construction of 2 artisan villages in Falmouth, Trelawney and Oteria, St. Anne this year. The villages will be designed to provide a merchandising facility for tourism partners already supplying craft products and will be marketed to visitors as a must-see attraction for new providers from the CDI. The House of Representatives has started to debate legislation to give the Caribbean Maritime Institute, CMI, university status. The Caribbean Maritime University CMU Bill 2016 was piloted by Minister of Transport and Mining Mike Henry. It will repeal the Caribbean Maritime Institute Act, under which the institute operates. Mr. Henry says the legislation provides an opportunity for the CMI to present itself as a niche market university to attract a greater number of foreign students. He says that being accorded university status will also enable the CMI to access international grant funding and even provides the opportunity to present the sector for development in the Jamaica Stock Exchange. He says this will make it more self-sustaining and globally competitive. The CMI is the only international entity approved for maritime training in Jamaica. Over the years, the Institute has expanded its scope of programs to include degrees at the undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctoral levels. As a result of this expansion, the CMI has gained national, regional and international recognition by the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport of the United Kingdom, the International Maritime Organization, CARICOM, and the World Maritime University. The Transport Minister says the CMI continues to make significant contribution to the Jamaican economy by bridging the employment gap. And stay with us, regional and international stories are next. Welcome back. It's time now for regional and international news. Antigua and Barbuda has served notice that the settlement of its long-standing dispute over online gaming with Washington will be issue number 1 as it prepares to engage the new Trump administration. The government says it will be pressing the Trump team to pay up the $100 million to settle the dispute won by Antigua and Barbuda before the World Trade Organization WTO 12 years ago. Governor General Sir Rodney Williams will, while delivering the throne speech at the opening of a new session of the Parliament on Monday, says the government believes that the new administration that is about to take office will recognize the lawfulness and justness of their actions and will quickly settle the differences that have kept its negotiations apart. In 2005, the WTO ruled that the U.S. had violated international trade agreements by prohibiting Antigua and Barbuda to operate offshore internet gambling sites. Antigua argued that the U.S. actions had caused the country to lose $3.4 billion a year in much-needed revenue and critical jobs. The WTO agreed that the U.S. was in violation of trade agreements, but only awarded the country $21 million. However, Antigua and Barbuda was awarded the right to suspend certain concessions and obligations it has under international law to the United States in respect of intellectual property rights. Washington is yet to compensate the Twin Island nation despite several rounds of negotiations. Ford Motor Company's abrupt decision to scrap a planned car plant in central Mexico is raising concerns about the region's future economic viability. Nathan Frandino reports.
Welcome to San Luis Potosi, home to the Ford plant that never was. What workers remain are now charged with taking apart the plant and packing up. Contractor Fernando Rosales says everything changed when Ford decided to scrap its plans for a $1.6 billion car plant.
Now you can see that the equipment, power generators, heavy machinery are leaving and there is nobody working here. This is normally a cloud of earth, but today it is completely calm.
Ford had been planning to build small cars in Mexico to reduce labor costs, but it stopped due to what it said was a decline in North American demand. Their decision comes as President-elect Donald Trump threatens to impose new taxes on Mexican-made autos. At a rare news conference Wednesday, Trump congratulated Ford on the decision.
Ford just announced that they stopped plans for a billion-dollar plant in Mexico, and they're going to be moving into Michigan and expanding very substantially an existing plant. I appreciate that from Ford.
But back in Mexico, concerns are rumbling. The plant was expected to create thousands of jobs for the town of Villa de Reyes.
I have an uncle who was going to work at Ford. He left his other job and now he was left jobless.
Industry experts now calculate the loss to the economy could run into the hundreds of millions of dollars. Villa de Reyes Town Hall Secretary Luis Miguel Espinoza regrets Ford's move.
Because of problems or aspects which don't involve the municipality, the city hall, and the state government, well, things didn't turn out as expected.
A reality that Mexico must now face as Trump prepares to get in the driver's seat of the United States.
The US dollar has nursed widespread losses after President-elect Donald Trump's long-awaited news briefing provided little clarity on future fiscal policies. But as Sonia Legg reports, Trump did not mention possible tariffs against Chinese exports, a relief from Asian share markets that have feared the outbreak of a global trade war.
Investors wanted clarity. They didn't get it. Trump's long-awaited news conference only offered reason to worry. The dollar felt the brunt, and bulls who bet on widespread stimulus were disappointed.
The markets really bought into these tax-cutting measures, into these fiscal stimulus measures, and the rally that we saw into the end of the year really was largely driven by the promise of these growth-friendly measures. The fact that we've had no clarity on them since is a concern.
The absence of possible tariffs on Chinese exports relieved Asian markets, but Europe was weighed down by a 2% slump in pharmaceutical firms. Trump said they'd been getting away with murder with their prices.
He's already launched a tax on the car industry. Now it looks like he's going after pharma, and who knows which companies are going to be next. So he really did focus more on the anti-investor, anti-market measures on this occasion.
A deck of stronger currencies also hurt European stocks. The euro was back to 1.065 to the dollar for the first time in a month, and sterling climbed above $1.22. It was bliss for bond markets, which have been in reverse since Trump's election, especially Germany's. But Frankfurt also fears Brexit and national elections.
The markets will wait and see a little bit during the first 3 months. I don't believe the DAX will suffer massive losses, but it'll become a lot more volatile until some of the big political issues have disappeared.
As always, in times of trouble, there was one winner. Gold rose to a 7-week high, just shy of $1,200 per ounce.
Tea workers in Bangladesh are afraid of losing their homes as the government wants to build special economic zones near the border with India. Al Jazeera's Maher Sattar reports.
This small hut is all that Subida Bhomik has. It serves as a barn, a bedroom, and a prayer room. The money she makes as a tea worker, she says, isn't worth the pain.
I'm chopping and cutting all day, every day. My back starts to hurt, but it's my arm that's really painful. Sometimes I have to go to the hospital for it.
Workers like Sobida make about $1 a day. They're in the fields from dawn to dusk. Many don't have access to healthcare, clean water, or schools for their children. Academics say these poor working conditions are a legacy of the British colonial era that have continued to the present day.
Most tea workers are members of indigenous communities, a very small minority in Bangladesh. This means that their problems usually don't get a lot of attention from the rest of the country.
Many fear that their problems are about to get a whole lot worse. In Chunarughat, near the border with India, the land where they live is under threat. The Bangladesh government wants to build a special economic zone here, saying it will bring in more work, just different work. That could mean new factories, another type of industry, but it's not gone down well with the local community.
They promised us jobs once the economic zone is built, but they said the same thing when they built a gas field nearby, and none of the tea workers ended up getting any jobs there, so we can't trust what they say.
The government says it will have talks with the tea workers in a bid to find a solution. And the Bangladesh Economic Zones Authority has agreed to put building plans on hold to allow these meetings to take place. But the workers are not confident their voices will be heard. And some of them are building new homes on the threatened land, hoping to make it more difficult for the government to move them. They say the land is vital to their survival and warn they won't give it up without a fight. Maher Sattar, Al Jazeera, Chunarughat, Bangladesh.
Talking Stocks is next. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for Talking Stocks. 41 stocks traded today, of which 21 advanced, 13 declined, and 7 traded firm. The main JSE index declined by 73 points to close at 193,223 points. The junior index advanced by 30 points to close at 2,753 points. Over 6 million units traded, valued at more than $95 million on the Jamaican dollar market. And on the US dollar market, over 151,000 units traded, valued at over 91,000 US dollars. JMMB Group, with over 5 million units changing hands, accounted for 75% of the market volume. Paramount Trading was second with over 180,000 units trading. Cable and Wireless accounted for over 178,000 units, amounting to 2% of the market volume, crossing the floor. Paramount Trading was also the top advancer, up 42 cents to close at $3.42, followed by AMG Packaging and Paper Company, up $2.20 to close at $30.70, while Lasco Financial Services up 22 cents to close at $3.91. The main decliners were General Accident Insurance Company, down 18 cents to close at $3, followed by Caribbean Cream, losing 46 cents to close at $8.03, and Barita Investments, down 31 cents to close at $5.86. And that's all the news we have for this evening, but before we go, a recap of our top story. Prime Minister Andrew Holness met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem today, discussing possibilities for cooperation in water, agriculture, and domestic security. Thanks for watching. For more content, visit our website at batvja.com. I'm Andrew Laidley. Pleasant viewing.